So, can you guess the topic of today's blog? Migraine. Did you know that 1 out of 7 people suffer from migraines? 1 out of 7. It's a huge number. Now, if as an osteopath I can make a difference to just a few of those, that's amazing. So many people suffer unnecessarily from migraines, or at least could have their migraines improved either in the duration or the severity of their symptoms. And that's my aim really in creating this short blog post. There are a variety of different types of migraine. There are a wide variety of different symptoms which can be related to them. So actually having the diagnosis of migraine is not necessarily very helpful. It can be confused with other things as well, but at least it's a starting point. So there are 5 main parts to a migraine typically. Not everybody has to have all of them, but I thought I would tell you about them because it often helps to understand what's happening with the symptoms. So there's a warning phase or a beginning phase, which can produce physical symptoms or mental, emotional symptoms. So you can get tiredness, cravings, mood changes quite often. You can feel really thirsty, or your neck can get really tight and uncomfortable, and they can last anything from half an hour, 20 minutes before an attack, up to an hour, even up to 24 hours for some people. So they know that there will be a migraine attack coming. To be honest, having experienced those, I'm not sure it's necessarily very helpful. But it gives you a bit of a chance to move into a situation where you might be able to cope with it better. There is then the aura stage. Not everyone has an aura stage to their migraine. Some people do not get the aura. Typically, these are neurological symptoms, so they're produced by the brain or the nervous system itself. They can last anything from 30 seconds up to about an hour, and they happen right before the main migraine, which for most people is a headache, right before that starts. You can get symptoms of dizziness, weakness, vertigo, so you feel that the world's spinning around you. You can have speech and auditory disturbances. So sometimes you can't think of the words that you want to get out, or you can't actually say them properly. Sentences get disturbed. You often have memory changes during the aura phase. You can feel confused or fearful. Sometimes you get partial paralysis. That's one of my main symptoms. Or you can feel faint. I often get pins and needles, particularly around the lips, or sometimes around the nose. That's really quite a common aura symptom to experience. In adults, the aura usually happens before the headache. In children, it happens pretty much at the same time. Their symptoms kind of get squished together. And then you get the main stage of the attack, which is primarily a headache. This can be very variable in its type and its severity as well. They're often one-sided. The pain can be quite unbearable, frequently made worse by bright lights, flashing lights, noises, movement. So when you have the main attack, you want to lie down in a darkened room. You want to move as little as possible, and you usually don't want other people around you either, to be honest. You get quite antisocial. It can be a band type feeling, or a pressing or a squeezing type pain. As I say, it's often one-sided, but it doesn't have to be. Some people describe it coming from their neck and then coming up and around their head, often over the eye or into the eye itself, which is horrible. It's a horrible experience. You can get it obviously all over the head. It's often accompanied by nausea and vomiting, For my own experience, if I was able to be sick during a migraine attack, that made me feel much better. And that's often happens with children as well. They often have more abdominal gut symptoms. They often feel quite sick. The headache stage can last for hours, often much longer than that. And then gradually the main thrust of the attack will fade, and after that you feel really sleepy, or you can cry a lot, you get very emotional. Sleep for a couple of hours after an attack often resolves the problem, and kids particularly will sleep directly after an attack, and it really cures the problem. And then there's a post-dromal stage, or a recovery stage, and in that part you feel quite drowsy, as though you're not quite there, you don't quite know where you are in space. You feel a bit fluffy, like you're in a cloud. You're not really related to the rest of the world around you, although you can relate to them. Sometimes you lose your appetite, but you might be really hungry in that post-attack stage. And from being really tired and fatigued, you now have boundless energy, which I'm not sure is necessarily a good thing either. So there are a number of different types of migraines which are recognised. There's migraines with an aura, so you get those premonitory symptoms, or without an aura. You can have chronic, i.e. long-term, long-standing migraines which will last for days on end. You'll have a few hours or a few days break, and then you'll bang back straight at you again. Hemiplegic migraines, I now tend to get these, where you end up losing sensation or function in typically half your body, although I've noticed that isn't always true, which can be very frightening because it can be very similar to having a stroke. So when you first experience that, that's really scary. You can have migraine with vertigo, so you get huge amounts of dizziness, you can't sit up, you can't stand up. Very unpleasant. You can have migraines with a brainstem aura, and those are more visceral type symptoms. So you feel sick or nauseous, you get vomiting, etc. You can have an abdominal migraine. Again, it feels like you've got a headache, but it's in your tummy. That is absolutely typical of children. That's the most common description that they have. They often don't get the headache at all. And you can have a cyclical vomiting syndrome, which is ghastly, where you just keep on being sick. So those are the main types. There are other types as well, but I didn't want to go into massive amounts of detail. Suffice it to say, if you are struggling from migraines, I might have that the wrong way around, migraines, osteopathy can help. We can help because we make a difference to the blood supply, which is crucial for migraines to start. We can make a difference to the nerve supply. They're the bits that maintain the migraine symptoms for you. We can make a difference to how your whole body works, and we can make a difference over time. So not only do your symptoms decrease in severity, usually decrease in chronicity, so how often, but they also decrease in duration. So if you're used to having migraines that last 24 hours or so, if you have migraines that occur less often and only last an hour or two, that totally transforms your life. Now, as you can imagine from the symptoms that I've already gone through, migraines are complicated, they're multifactorial, and so it is worthwhile coming along for a consultation with me, Gayle Palmer, the osteopath at the Living Elements Clinic. Let's take a really detailed case history. Let's get to work on what's causing your migraines, find out those triggers, get those resolved, and let's see if we can make a difference. So if you are interested in having an appointment, use the link below or above, and I'd be happy to see you. Take care for now. Give us a call if you need to, if you're suffering from one of these horrible things.